momentarily. I'm going to share. Where are we going, Chef? Window?
Yep,
This guy?
that's the guy.
Okay. Okay. Oh, but wait. No, not awesome. Because I need to go through. How do I scroll like this? Okay, cool. Still figuring it out. Welcome back. Here we go. We're going to fire away. We discussed, this is episode 3. We discussed last week the 3 principal aspects as an overview, and prior to that, the Dharma compass. And we will now do a little bit more of a deep dive into the 3 principal aspects. We mentioned briefly that maybe it's actually true that you kind of only really need the Dharma compass and the 3 principal aspects, actually. And we're going to explore that idea in a little bit more detail. And when we get there, talk about the concept of sadhana, because that actually came through here. So let us start again from the very top. These presentations will build on each other. And so we will do a little bit of a refresher. And this is kind of why the sadhana idea came up. So let's say that, I'm a crazy person that goes on Evercenter's YouTube Live and is looking at some Buddhist stuff, and I really want to take this seriously. So sadhana, in other words, there's a way to formally practice, or in an athletics context, practices have a certain structure. First you go to the field, and then you like kind of warm up a little bit, informally, and then you do a formal warm up, and then there's some structure. You work on infield or whatever it is for the day. So spiritual practice is the same way, or authentic or legitimate or real spiritual practice is the same from the point of view of it's structured. Okay, so this is why I'm starting here, saying that that's why they're going to see similar slides for these first several lectures. We're going to see similar slides, because then we can all say the word, oh, familiar, yes, familiars, and check. And then next concept, check, next concept, check, next concept, check, next concept, check. And then let's say that someone were that crazy person that's going to Evercenter's thing and they want to take a Buddhist practice seriously, then a formal practice would look like there's some idea, philosophy, some theory, some intellectual grasp of some movement forward toward maturity, represented by one idea and then a following idea and then a following idea, etc. So first I would have some clarity about that movement, right? Intellectually, I get where this is going and why. And then I would formalize that with a body, speech, and mind exercise or component associated with the idea. So let's say body, something physical, lighting a candle. Speech, I'm going to pray something. Mind, I'm going to visualize something. And that would represent practicing that idea. Okay, something like that. So here we are essentially building a formal practice. We're actually building a sadhana. And that's why the slides are going to be repetitive. Okay, so just making the point. So starting again with familiarization, we have the idea, we have a word called meditation. And, there's a lot of different depth of that. And so maybe it was the case when the transition of HQ from ancient India to Tibet was taking place, that the first like real Tibetan masters wanted to get rid of a confusing word. I don't, and decided to say, actually, no, what's going on here is that what we're attempting to do, period, is become more familiar with all phenomena, period, full stop. Like actually what's going on in the path is or the only way to solve the game. Again, if I've got the magical hat on and, there's no escape. And so you have to solve the game. The magical bad news, magical good news is it can be solved. And the magical solution that's presented that we can't know for real or not until we test it is the way to solve the game is to become hyper familiar to the point of quantum proximity with all phenomena. Right? So the Tibetan masters realized, okay, cool. So the whole point of the whole game is that we have to become hyper familiar with all phenomena to the point of becoming intimate with all phenomena, to the breakthrough of realizing that all phenomena are actually as much a part of ourselves as our own hands, right? And then that produces the ethics that we later call compassion. Okay, so this is the whole thing. But anyway, so you've got familiarization. Again, as we've said on some of our daily dharmas, we're using words that have multiple meanings, right? And so this word familiarization, we can look at it as the entire point of the whole thing, but also then, step it down to understand that what we are tasked to do is a step toward becoming familiar with the whole thing is start to become familiar with principles, etc., right? Practices, etc., concepts, familiar to the point of being intimate with it. So we can test it, and then B, if we like the results, let's say, then we can integrate that and live with that. Okay, so we can incorporate that. So we're replacing the word. I'm proposing that I'm proposing that contemporary Buddhist society get rid of the word meditation and put familiarization in its place. Also, so I'm going to say this quickly. I'm also going to bet that probably within 50 to 100 years, there will be another form of Buddhism established. Conversation for another time. But this stuff is really taking off in the modern and contemporary mindset, as it seems to do when financial power and military power become a priority in a society, and when that society forgets to also develop spiritual power alongside those. I'm not saying better or worse. I'm saying each one in an ideal society has all of those things developed to the max. Okay, so here we go, reviewing from the top. So the Dharma compass, if we are to familiarize ourselves with the Dharma compass, you've got really two, shots fired with the Dharma compass. One is it possible that the Dharma compass represents everywhere that we can go or everything that we can experience? Yes or no? And also, well, where the hell, there's no space there called self. Is it possible that myself will always be embedded inside of my experience and other people's experiences? A. And then B, the familiarization with Dharma compass is do we agree with the concept of, there's basically one or two zones that we can reside in. One zone that represents, a wasted life, and the other zone representing a not wasted life. And do we agree that there are causes that produce, residents of each of those locations? So that's something to think about. Obviously, the Dharma compass is proposing yes. The Dharma compass is proposing that the way that we behave is the culmination of thinking patterns, which are the byproduct of our view, who we think we are, what we think this is, right? And then, one more gauntlet is, there's only two views. There's only two ways we can see things, the right way and the wrong way. There's only two ways that we can interpret our environment, the right way and the wrong way. And there are results based on that interpretation. Okay, so we familiarize ourselves with that. And And in so doing, we establish our aim. Hey, I would like to reside in sustainability. I would like to be, I would like to express inspired performance, which means I should aim at aspirational mentation, and I will know that I am, um, effectively, I am, my mentation, my aspirational mentation is effective. I will know that because I will have a byproduct called an emotion that catapults me more, or generates me, um, results in me being more invested in other people's well-being, right? That would be an indicator that I'm in the feedback loop associated with zone of sustainability. So that becomes our aim, let's say, right? Okay, cool. So that's the very top. So someone might turn, all the words that I've said, basically the idea represented in the words that I've said for the past 8 minutes or whatever, someone might turn that into a sadhana, the beginning of a sadhana. I might light a candle that represents, me being dedicated to inspired performance. I might, say a prayer that's associated with me, wishing something or asking for support to live inside of inspired performance, and to remember that I want to, ask for some type of guidance or support to stay as often as I can in study and contemplation, something like that. And then I might visualize. Third, I might visualize, what my life would look like were I to be engaged, in a structured way with aspirational meditation, and what I would be doing that would represent inspired performance or something like that. Okay, so you're starting to build up an actual formal practice. You take the idea and then you represent it physically, verbally and mentally. Okay, so we're moving on to the next guy. And so the idea here, the idea today basically is that, this will be some of the last slides, and who knows if I'm going to talk and we were even going to get there. But the idea is that if it is true that we can't actually move forward on the path without embodying the three principal aspects, and if that's a new idea for us, then it makes sense to strengthen, or again, familiarize ourselves with the three principal aspects, right? And so, what we're going to do, why we're doing this today, is basically we're trying to strengthen, build up, intensify the relationship that we have with those things, right? And so we start, obviously, if it is true that we would like to reside in the zone of sustainability, then we need to strengthen our resolve to do that. That's the idea, right? And so the strengthening the resolve to do that would represent starting with the first principal aspect and strengthening what is called participation. We're saying contemporizing participation, or traditionally thought of as renunciation. So that's why we're going to go through these next couple slides. So, and I'll get ahead of myself just to contextualize, why I'm saying these things. We want to strengthen, our resolve to reside in the zone of sustainability. We want to strengthen our resolve. The beginning of an official practice, let's say, would be to try to strengthen our resolve to reside in the zone of sustainability, something like that. Okay, you're making a commitment to cultivate the habits of body, speech, and mind that represent the causes for experiencing the life that we want to experience. Okay, and I will tie that together at the end. So, again, when we recall what it's been like to not really know what the hell we're doing with our lives, we get divorced, we spend all our money, we're alcoholics, whatever, all the crazy, silly things that, at the time felt like we were in hell or whatever, right? When you think about that, we're like, that sucked. And our evaluation of ourselves, our evaluation of, our evaluation of ourselves, it lands only on the performance box. Man, when I was performing nihilistically, that sucked, right? And so we feel shame for the nihilistic performance when in fact we should be more ashamed of or pissed at ourselves for distorted mentation. But no, not even that. We should have been more pissed at ourselves for adopting and holding on to a distorted view of ourselves, right? And so I'm saying, we're getting mad at the wrong thing. In other words, we're trying to strengthen resolve, and we're trying to direct the resolve to the appropriate space or the appropriate cause. Okay, so that's what this is saying. Okay, we're getting mad at the wrong thing. Now let's do a little. Now let's do let's do a familiarization exercise here. Again, I'm going to say the same thing a lot. I'm doing that for a reason, right? We're strengthening our resolve to experience the life that we want. In other words, you could say the same concept by saying strengthen our resolve to avoid the life we don't want. I want to strengthen my resolve to avoid the life that I don't want. Okay, so here we go. So the zone of dissipation does not inherently or eternally exist. It only comes into existence temporarily as a result of specific actions of body and mind. Great. Zone of sustainability, likewise, the zone of sustainability is not there. It's not there. It emerges out of, it is the result of certain way of living. Okay. When we know what types of actions cause and create dissipation, we're free to avoid it. When we know what types of actions cause and create sustainability, we're free to reside in it. Right? When we understand what type of life produces what we don't want, what way of living produces what we don't want, then we're free to avoid that. And the converse is true. Okay. Next. If the actions of body and mind that create dissipation are absent, dissipation cannot exist. This is saying the same thing in another way. Again, the beginning of the path, in other words, the very beginning of the path is what we're doing right now. We are strengthening our resolve. We are strengthening our determination to be free from our basic insanity. We're strengthening our determination to be free from the spiritual homelessness that we are causing for ourselves. We are strengthening our resolve to be free, finally, from residing in the state of spiritual homelessness that we are creating for ourselves and passing to our loved ones. That's what we're doing right now. This is the beginning of the path. And if we were to represent this formally or officially, we would do something physically, some action of body. We would say some prayer, some action of speech, and we would visualize some state, some action of mind. Okay. Yes. Okay. So you get it. If the actions of mind and body that create sustainability or absence, sustainability cannot exist. Got it. Okay. We're building a real practice here step by step. We're baking a cake step by step. And I think that's the next slide. Yes. Here we go. So, I, the yogi, have practiced just that. You who also seek liberation, you who also wishes to be free to avoid the state of cakelessness. Please cultivate yourself this in the same way. You who also wishes to be free to reside in the state of cakeness, please follow the recipe, right? So Atisha, shout out Atisha. The three principal aspects are attributed to Atisha. We commented that, we commented briefly that they may be considered secondary pulses from a contemporary point of view, and we tied them to the beginning of the path. The real point of this slide is shout out the lineage. The real point of this line is shout out the lineage, A. B, follow the recipe. I, the yogi baker, can create cakes at will because I know the recipe. And I understand that without the three principal aspects of cake, called the recipe, the ingredients, and the equipment, I cannot produce cake. Okay, so I really, again, now I'm going to be the guy that says the same thing over and over and over again. Here I go. I really cannot stress how profound, how transformative, how ennobling, how etc. This idea will change your life. This idea can 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 change your life. There is a recipe. The path is not complicated. It's not complicated. It's literally as simple as baking a cake. Literally as simple as baking a cake. It's literally as simple as that. In terms of the mechanics, at the very least, in terms of the mechanics, it's as simple as that. If I have the recipe, which we do here, right? We're reviewing the recipe. If I have the recipe, great. Do I have the equipment? Great. That's a question, something to question. Do I have the ingredients? Great. Also something to question. But in terms of whether or not it's doable, here you have a direct confession saying, yo, I did this. It's possible. If you would also like to do this, just follow the steps, bro. Okay. Here we go. All right. One of our favorite slides. Don't shoot the messenger, right? You know, I'm just trying to convey / relay what the line has said. And, you know, so heads up, because sometimes we don't like to hear this. We would rather hear that we can do whatever we want. We would rather hear, you know, it's so funny. We actually had an interview. So sidebar. So we're interviewing someone 2 days ago, and you know, I try to be silly in interviews because I want to see if people can go off script or not, right? And so we play the game. Okay, cool. What does your ideal life look like? You know, like how much money would you like to make? And I throw some numbers out. You know, it's 500,000 a week. Yeah, I'd like to make that. Yeah, of course. If we're playing the game, I want to make 500,000 a week. Sure. As you know, I'm like, you know, I make 500 a week. You know, I don't know. You want to make 35,000 a week? That's better. How about 500,000 a week? We're playing the game. Ideal scenario. We play in the game. Yeah, 500,000. That's what I want. Okay, cool. How much would you like to work a week? 40 hours or 0 hours? I want to work 0 hours. Okay. So you're telling me that your ideal week looks like you're earning $500,000 and doing 0 hours of work. Yeah, that's my ideal week. Right? I also want to welcome everyone to episode 3. You know, we're almost halfway through, and I also want to say, you know, you're welcome to use the chat. If anything sounds silly or stupid, or there's a question, if something was interesting, you want me to stay on something or whatever, but I feel like I'm doing my best to stay on the script, but also be playful. And so just, I want, you know, using that metaphor, right? That literally happened to me 2 days ago, where I said, okay, tell me what your ideal life would look like. And someone said, my ideal life would look like making $500,000 a week and doing no work. Right. And so I'm saying that to say that this is why the beginning of the path can only start right here, where we're talking about the recognition, the acknowledgement of spiritual homelessness, or the acknowledgement of basic insanity. Right. Because if we were to bounce or filter that idea, can someone earn $500,000 a week for doing nothing? Right? Not investing, not seeing dividends from something, not selling for doing nothing. Is that even an accurate idea? Like, can that make sense? Or does it not? Like, does it fail the logic test? Does it fail the cause and effect test? Of course it does, right? And so I'm saying that's an indicator. So we should, as we're trying to strengthen our resolve, as we're trying to strengthen our determination to put to an end our spiritual homelessness, um, each of us should really, reflect, like, what do I think is even possible, or what is, yeah, I also want $500,000 to do, right? And so, in other words, it is a very valuable use of time to examine whether or not we are fully subscribed or bought in to cause and effect, in other words. And if so, then it would make sense for me to want to learn how to initiate the causes, relate to the causes, period. Right? If I'm relating to the causes, I'm spending time doing the things that produce the thing, period. I'm going to get the thing, and it's inevitable. In other words, okay. So trigger warning. Atisha is saying Atisha and the lineage after is all co-signing what Atisha said, that actually, if we don't have the equipment, we won't get cake. If we don't have the ingredients, we won't get cake. And if we don't have a recipe that outlines, how much of each we should do and with what, tool or instrument, we won't get cake, right? So Atisha and the rest of the line cosigns the idea that if we want cake and you don't have the equipment, you don't get cake. You could have the ingredients and the recipe, don't get cake. If we want cake and we don't have the recipe, you don't get cake. You could have the equipment and the ingredients. If you want cake and you don't have the ingredients, you could have the equipment and the recipe, that you don't get cake. So each of these things is required in order to get cake. This is what Atisha is proposing, and the rest of the line is co-signing. All right. And one more silly familiarization metaphor. The three principal aspects of my shoe. Can I have a spiritual practice or a shoe if I don't have the laces, the sole, or the leather? Would there actually be a shoe there, if there were no, whatever material it was made out of, some type of, I don't know, what are they made out of? Resin, I don't know, plastic, who knows, rubber, who knows, leather. Let's just say it's 100% leather. I don't know. No, that's a thing. If there's no leather, there's no shoe. If there's no laces, if there's no sole, there's no shoe, right? Similarly, what do you mean hand? Do you mean skin? Do you mean bone? Do you mean muscle? Right? If those things there, whatever it is that you mean, that you recognize as essential components of hand, if those things aren't there, how can the hand be there? And therefore, if the essential components of one's practice aren't there, how could a spiritual practice be there? And you could take that idea and go with anywhere with it, right? So, okay. So, in other words, in order for a thing to be real, its component parts have to be there. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so we talked about, so from a traditional point of view, the first of the three principal aspects is called renunciation. And last week we talked about, the pros and cons of the pros and cons of continuing to use that word. Because when the word renunciation, if I hear the word renunciation, and it's probable that for most of us, the crazies that are interested in the Buddhist world hear the word renunciation, we probably think monks and nuns, or we probably think ascetic, wandering beggar. We think renunciation, we think go away from the world, right? And we're not thinking of renunciation as the determination to be free from samsara, or the determination to put to an end our spiritual homelessness. So, um, yes, so familiarizing ourselves with what the word renunciation means from a traditional point of view, like being thorough, renunciation as is used traditionally in the three principal aspects, or what is the first building block of our formal practice, is to understand that that it's a determination to be free from our spiritual homelessness. It does not mean the first step that I need to do is renounce the world, become a monk. Okay, so we propose that there is a probably that we can use an English word, because we're speaking English, that can encapsulate that idea, or at least allow that idea to be more adaptable or have more perspectives or interpretations. So we're proposing that participation as a concept can get us closer to being able to actually work with or practice the first principal aspect. So we're saying here that participation is to live a life that is fully dedicated to and undistracted from progressing along the path. And then we're going to break this down here by really saying, basically, and what do we mean participation? It means, hey, you want to go play? No, I don't want to do that. Hey, you want to play? No, I don't want to do that. Hey, do you want to play like this? No. Hey, do you want to play like this? No. Hey, do you want to do this? No. I only want to do this because I really feel like I'm this, right? Or whatever, right? I'm an artist. I don't have to work a job. Or I'm a scientist. I don't have to believe in something that I can't, I don't have hard evidence for, or whatever, right? In other words, in order for a spiritual teaching to be authentic, it needs to address basic insanity. In other words, our sense of identity, right? And notice that there's aversion, unless we're like really like high performing bodhisattvas, that there's some aversion to you being asked to do something that you feel is not your career, or for you to spend time with a group of people that you don't feel like are your people. You mean I'm supposed to do something with the right wing crazies? You mean I'm supposed to spend time trying to support the left wing crazies? Etc. Notice that probably, unless we're high performing bodhisattvas, that there's something that we're averse to. I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to go to work today, or something, right? And so that's why also participation can be a marker of whether or not basic insanity is there in us, or we're basically insane, in other words, right? Do you have aversion to doing something like a job that would actually bring you benefit in the form of learning how to interact with other people, learning how to sell things, learning how to make yourself presentable, learning how to make yourself adaptable and collaborative, the opportunity to, and so on, right? So, in other words, the more that we participate, the less insane we are. In other words, right? The more that we participate with life as it is happening right now, the more that I'm willing to participate with what the hell's going on right now, the less insane I am. If I take this all the way back, if the whole point of the whole path is to become familiar with all phenomena, period, to the point of becoming intimate with it, to the point of becoming intimate with it, then why would I not want to take the opportunity to play with whatever's happening today? In other words, right? And then again, someone could take all of that stuff that I said, and actually that is what constitutes real practice before I turn it into some type of official sadhana or formal ritual in the form of, some specific physical thing, some prayer, some mental something. I understand why I would want to cultivate that quality, or strengthen that resolve, or something like that, right? So participation here, as we're saying, is we make the determination to free ourselves from our spiritual element. We make the determination to not be Debbie Downers. In other words, we make the determination to not have low vibes. We make the determination to not be minus 1,000 aura. That's all that it's saying. Like, yo, why do you have minus 1,000 aura right now? Right? That's just because you actually think that you're something that you're not. That's all. That's all that's happening. And actually, if you stop having minus 1,000 aura, you're going to have way more fun anyway, or whatever, right? It's like, yeah, that's easy to say, but how do you do that? And I'm saying, like, this is how you do that, right? I, the yogi, have practiced just that. You know, you who also want to be free from minus 1,000 aura, please cultivate yourself the same way, right? So I'm saying we make the determination to free ourselves. And, you know, again, forgive me. Please forgive me for saying the same thing over and over and over again. Why the hell do I keep stopping and stressing this first concept so much? Have you ever built a house or done anything? Yes, you've probably done something. Have you ever built a house? I don't know. You live in a house? Yes. Well, someone built the house, and then could they have built it without building the foundation first? No. And so, can we have an authentic spiritual practice? Are we going to see a return on our investment if we don't understand what the foundation is like? No, we're not. Right. And so, if there's one thing that I would encourage contemporary practitioners to remember, is that actually, like, all that advanced stuff, like, that happens on its own. All that fancy stuff that will emerge organically out of your, you know, out of the foundations. Okay. So I'm stressing the foundation. I'm really stressing, like, yo, this concept, right? I said last week, you know, the three principal aspects. This is a super profound idea, super transformative. This will change your life. I'm saying, and even this one idea, if we can recognize the value, if we understand how it is affecting our lives in a negative way, we understand how we're essentially, you know, there's the idea of self-limiting beliefs is the idea, right? That's what this is saying, basically, that we're projecting, we're erecting, we're living inside of a prison of our own making. That's what this is saying. And we don't want to do that. Why would you want to do that? Who wants to do that? No one wants to do that. Okay, so the first thing, and if I'm going to have any shot of taking that thing down, well, I need to make a determination to take it down. That's all this is saying, right? That's the point of this week's lecture. Are we really ready to make the determination to put self-limiting belief down? Yes or no? Okay, so yes. So we make the determination to free ourselves from minus 1,000 aura, from being Debbie Downer, or whatever, you know, new phrase is more funny. I don't want to be spiritually homeless anymore, and I want to make that determination. But not only do I want to make the determination, I want to consider the determination as a quantifiable or a quantitative element. That determination can be quantified. In other words, you can strengthen the hell out of your determination. More determination, maximum determination, maximum determination, maximum determination, maximum determination. Okay. Now imagine how your life would be. Right. Now I'm inviting you now to a little taste of what a practice might look like. That is the parallel to understanding the idea. Imagine how your life would be. Visualize how your life would be if you woke up every day with that level of determination to participate with the world joyfully. I'm saying could be amazing. Okay, so we want to make that determination. In other words, right? We want to make the determination, and most often we have to make the determination from the point of view of not recognizing that we're basically insane, that we don't have the basic insanity. And so that's why I think participation is an effective word, because notice that you're averse to doing things, that you don't want to participate. Notice that you have an aversion to doing things, that you don't want to participate. Okay, that's the thing that we have to struggle against. That's the thing that we have to combat. Why can't I recognize the humanity in others? Why can't I do that? Why am I unwilling to do that? Why am I unwilling to recognize that person that I'm averse to being around also needs air, also needs, healthy food, is probably angry because they're not happy, Are you angry just because? Or are you kind of angry when you're not happy, things aren't going your way? So maybe it's probable that if that person were healthy mentally, let's say something, or had access to whatever they felt that they needed, that it might not be so. In other words, there's all these different ways that we can start to work through our unwillingness to participate. Okay. And so we could dig in on that and dig in on that and dig in on that and dig in on that. And that's what the path, the lineage does, right? This one idea I want to share here before I move on to the next slide also is that, shout out the lineage, shout out Bob Thurman, because I really, 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 really love how he encapsulates this idea when he talks about it as, and he's obviously basically translating, his teachers, but I enjoy the words that he has chosen to hold the essence of the idea. Precious human embodiment endowed with liberty and opportunity. The first principal aspect, basically, is that we have a precious human embodiment that is endowed with liberty and opportunity. And so then obviously, let us not squander the precious human embodiment endowed with liberty and opportunity. Liberty to do what? We are free to work through our basic insanity. There is an opportunity for us to work through our basic insanity. Precious human embodiment. Precious human embodiment. Precious human embodiment. Not precious God realm embodiment. Not precious get me out of the body so I can go to subtle celestial realm embodiment. Not let me transcend the cycle of birth and death so I don't have to be born here ever again, or whatever ideas. Precious human embodiment. There is no better place to be, even from the figurehead's mouth. There is no better place to be. There's nothing better to be than human. Right? And we could look at all sorts of different traditions. Right? Hermetic tradition says the same damn thing. Which is better, to be a god or a human? To be a human, because you can measure both realms. Which is better, to be a god or a human? A human, because you can measure both realms. Because you can experience more. Okay. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but I'm just catching the wave. I think this stuff is these are all these different, everything I'm saying is all related to that. It's all related to participation. So is Christ. Was Christ before participating? No. Was the Buddha before participating? No. Right? Or Emerson, do the thing and you shall have the power. In other words, if we do not participate, we do not evolve. Full stop. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, well, yeah. I don't even know why. TBH, I forgot why we put that slide in there. Something about, would you like to know what the matrix is, or I'm not sure what, or we're talking about how to. I guess we already got there. We're basically talking about what are the different ways that I can actually strengthen that determination if I recognize that I have all these aversions, and I recognize that actually they are limiting the amount of experience that I have access to. And if I do understand that, I'm starting to see, that there's a relationship between, strangers, the quality of strangers' life and the quality of my life. Well, maybe that some of those strangers represent, maybe they reside inside of a group that I currently have some aversion to, or like I'm actually rooting against or something, right? We can start to see that we're probably at odds with, like, we're actively creating um, dissonance in society or something, like something as dangerous as that, right? Like actually going on in our mind, that like we're actually contributing to the culture war, but that actually might not be a smart thing because maybe someone, who, someone who made my, my car or roads or computer or something, like they actually, the thing that I'm earning my money, I'm earning my livelihood, I'm speaking a language, etc., and so on and so on and so on. Maybe someone actually is giving me that opportunity, but like on the inside, I'm at odds with them or something. And you can see how ridiculous, therefore, it is to, continue to reside with that aversion, with that rooting against inside. Okay. Okay. So would you like to know what it is? Or in other words, how do we really strengthen? What are some ways for us to think so that we can strengthen our resolve, or strengthen our determination to be free from our basic insanity? Again, I'm saying the same thing over and over again here. So I'm gonna pause really quickly and invite also familiarize us with the benefits of coffee breaks. And familiarize ourselves with the fact that coffee breaks are a mere designation. They are merely designated because if there is no coffee, there can be no coffee break. And also that coffee is a mere designation because if there are no coffee beans, there can be no coffee. And also that coffee bean is a mere designation because if there's no nitrogen or something. Anyway, Dharma jokes, folks. I'm going to pause and invite you to visit our website, evercenter.org, because I think that we could probably start wrapping this presentation up, where what I was going to do is just talk more and more and more and more about strengthening resolve. And maybe I'll read one thing here, but I want to invite you to the website because we have our books there. And so the remainder of today's presentation was going to be me reading from our books and commenting on them. I also want to just pause and throw the ball to you. If there's something that you would like me to go back through, anything that we touched really anywhere, or it can even be unrelated, I want to throw the ball your way for that opportunity. Okay. The floor is open. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs and then we can close for today. So I'm reading from our, we call it our red book. It is More Human, More Diamond. This is from one of the introductory chapters called Conversations with Mentors. And here I'm literally just reading from our own book here. Once my mentor recounted the story of becoming a mentor. It began as follows. Once my mentor recounted the story of becoming a mentor. Right? In other words, I, the yogi, have practiced just that. I, the yogi, have practiced just this, right? It began here. The mentor's path to mentorhood began right here. If life has a meaning, then to live without knowing for certain what it means would be a total waste of time. Yeah, I don't know, mentor. Maybe. Conversely, if life has no meaning, if it's just random and inherently means nothing, then to project some type of meaning onto it would be a lie. To falsely believe that there's a God over there or that the universe will save me, or to project meaning where meaning simply doesn't exist, are all forms of lying to myself. Yeah, I don't know, mentor. The mentor is saying, I, the yogi, have practiced just this. You who also seek liberation, please start here. consider whether or not it's possible to know the meaning of life, and whether or not knowing that represents some form of time waste or lie, right? I generally do not, and the mentor is continuing. This is how the mentor is going step by step. The mentor is basically saying, I realize that I don't respect anyone who lies to me or wastes my time. Right. It's like, right. You know, like, do we actually respect people that waste our time? No. Do we respect people that lie to us? No. Right? I neither respect nor trust those who feed me misinformation. Yeah, of course. So how is it that I can continue to respect and trust myself if I continue to waste my own time or lie to myself? In other words, what the mentor is saying right here is, I recognized I was forced to acknowledge that I might be residing in basic insanity, or I might be living a life that is spiritually homeless. That is the beginning. The real question is, am I interested in meaning? Okay. Sometimes I think I already know the meaning of my life. Then now the mentor is examining. Yeah, actually, this is interesting. Sometimes I think I know what it means because some things feel meaningful. But then other times it doesn't, right? So sometimes I think, when I already think I know the meaning, my unwillingness to ask the question is a sure indication that I'm projecting one or multiple false meanings. I may have an answer to the question, but how can I be certain that the answer is correct? Right? It's not saying that it isn't correct necessarily. But what would represent certainty if I do feel I know the meaning of my life, right? That means, right? In other words, when I feel that I know the meaning of life, what I'm not doing is questioning whether or not it has a meaning. Right? So when I feel like I understand the meaning of life or know the meaning of life, when I feel that I know the meaning of life, or that I feel that I know that life has no meaning, in either case, I'm not simultaneously asking the question about whether or not it does have meaning. Right? That hits kind of hard. When I feel certain that life has one meaning or multiple meanings, or I feel certain that it has no meaning, in either case, when I'm doing that, again, this is why the Dharma compass is so profound, because it's like that represents a location on the map. Like, I'm there. I can't also be somewhere else. Right? When I'm doing that, when I'm certain that it has one meaning or multiple meanings, or I'm certain that it has no meaning, I'm not also simultaneously questioning the meaning. Right? In other words, how would we know or not? How would I know, right? I may have the answer, but how can I be certain if it's correct? Right? And that's also, I mean, it's also hard. That also is hard. It's like, well, would you rather, again, is it subjective? Is it not? Have I exhausted all possibilities? Have I consulted the best sources? Have I asked the question deeply and sincerely enough? To think meaning, mentor is continuing. Mentor is saying, I, the yogi, went like this, and then like that, and then like that, and then like that, and then like that. The mentor is saying, I, the yogi, started right here. I'm recounting my path to mentorhood, and this is exactly how it started. Right? The mentor is continuing. To think meaning is subjective is a trap that many fall for. Because I'm accustomed to perceiving others projecting meaning onto life, I might conclude that each projection must be subjectively true. Right? Well, I think that group of people is subhuman. Well, I think that group of people is subhuman. You could imagine one person saying, well, okay, well, that your group isn't human. And then the other group saying, well, no, your group isn't human. No, your group isn't human. No, your group isn't human. No, give me all the tigers. No, give me all the tigers. No, I want all the women. No, I want all the women. No, I'm God of the universe. No, I am God of the universe. No, my God is right. No, my God is right. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, in other words, have you ever watched The tape. Have you ever rerun the tape on human beings? Do you remember that? You remember that? Do you remember when we were friends in our last incarnation and we were in spaceships hovering? Like, are we going to incarnate or not? Right? And we were like, well, let's run the tape back on humans, right? And the tape looked like this. Well, give me all the tigers. No, give me all the tigers. No, my God is right. No, my God is right. Right? You dig what I'm saying? So, I'm trying here, folks. I'm trying to make it fun. In other words, we've seen what subjective meaning does to a planet. Have you seen what subjective meaning does to a planet called the 20th century, called hundreds of millions of people killed? You know what I'm saying? Is that a good thing? You know what I'm saying? Have we seen what subjective meaning does to a planet? Is that a good thing? Right? You dig what I'm saying? Okay, so that's the mentor saying thinking that meaning is subjective is a severe hindrance to spiritual progress. Have we seen what subjective meaning does to a planet? Is that a good thing? Okay, if life doesn't mean anything, or if it means something different than what I'm trying to project onto it, then I'm lying to myself by believing in false meaning. If life doesn't mean anything. Right. In other words, if it actually has no meaning, but I'm trying to say it does, well then that's a lie, isn't it? So if life has objective meaning, right? If it does have some objective meaning, then the longer I live without knowing it, the more time I waste. So I'm going to leave us there, folks. Chef, will you please start a timer for 30 seconds? I'm gonna leave us there for today, folks. Invitation for maybe one question, if there's interest. I know again these are kind of heavy, and you know it's almost like each slide is trigger warning. We'll leave it there for today, and I invite you to check out. Our website, evercenter.org. The Dharma database has a lot of these ideas. All of our videos are listed there. Wishing you the very best. See you next Sunday. Take care.